In this video, we're going to be looking at Smart-Balustrade from Smart Builder software. So let's now go in and design a balustrade. I'll click here on New Balustrade, and this will create a new balustrade entry for me here, where I can enter these details that will appear on the quote. So project name, I'm going to call this Example Balustrade. Customer, we will say Mike Smith, and I'm just going to enter some details here as a bit of a placeholder to show you an example of what this would look like on the quote. So project details, let's say it's going on the balcony there, and finish these details here. Now we will design the balustrade. In the design screen here, we have the basic setup where we choose our style for our level section of where we want the balustrade to be. So we can configure many different styles, and part of our setup process is we would enter in the styles that you use with your terminology as well. So what I'm going to do first, I will go to my layout balustrade and drag and drop the different sections I need to build the balustrade. So we can see here we have a straight run, a gap, a gate, a straight run of handrail, a stair section of a balustrade, and a stair section of handrail. So let's build a bit of a balcony U-shape and demonstrate some of this functionality. So I've dragged and dropped it onto here, and I'm just going to enter my length as 3.5 meters. Then I'm going to select another section and bring this onto here, and I'm going to put this on at 4 meters. When I drag and drop the sections on, I can put them at a different angle, so I've chose to put this at 90, whereas I could do 45 or 180. Once I drag and drop this, I can also come back and adjust what that angle is. We can see here we've got 270 and 90. I can go through and adjust this, as well as adjusting how these corners meet. As I do this, so say for example if I say it's going to be a mitered corner, then our software is automatically able to work out a change of price of doing this, and the same thing for doing a different type of butt join versus an overlap, because this is going to affect our glass sizes and therefore affect our price. So this is an example we've put together here, and let's maybe put in a bit of a stair section coming off here and enter these measurements. We can see on the stair section we have a drop down of how we want to input these measurements. The reason being is obviously you can measure these in multiple different ways, so whatever measurements you have you can choose to enter them this way. So I'll say I have diagonal and height. My diagonal, I will say it's going 3.5 meters with a 950 drop, and I can then change this back and forth, so it will now work out my drop angle and my length, or change this around and see my diagonal and my angle. So back into my basic setup here, it hasn't been able to produce an image because I have let it know what style I'm doing for my level section, but not for my stair section. So if I select here as a base fork style, the software is now able to generate a 3D image of all of these components, as well as working out all of the glass and all of the gaps here, based on these details that I've previously configured as part of the setup. So now what I can do is I could come through and change this to maybe a channel style, a base shoe style, and I will do the same for my stair section to a base shoe style. And we can see here it's adjusted all of that glass and hardware and change my 3D image. We can take this a little step further as well and say, look, I'm not interested in a top rail for either of these, and I would actually want to have an offset rail. So we can select our rails in here for the offset for both of these sections. And now this has automatically gone through and worked out all of these cutouts in the glass, as well as, looking at that rail earlier, what the standard length of this we order and how much we're going to need. So we can now position this for how we want to display this for the customer on the quote. So however I leave this is how I want this to be displayed for them, and I can toggle with this and turn the measurements on and off and show the ground here for example as well, and show some different details. But for now I'm going to say without measurements and just show them the balustrade itself, like this, and save that there. Now I've done this, we can see here the software has calculated the price for me, and it's worked out all of the different components that I've used to get this price. So we can see we're using our glass, what size of the glass we're using, how much we pay for this, how much we sell this for, and what our markup is. So going through, it's worked out all of the processing information here as well for every one of these panels. We can see all of these here, as well as the hardware that I require. We can also come in and add additional cost to this. So say for example, accommodation travel time, or just add something and label it whatever is needed in here. So we can now have a quick look at a quote of what this is going to look like to give to the customer. So we've now put together a quote for the balcony for the customer here with an example balustrade, and we can see our balustrade there on the quote with our price. As well as this, it's also worked out all of our glass sizes for this balustrade. So same balustrade here, it's worked out our total weight as well as the weight for each individual panel and all of these components. So we can see these here, all of the different cutouts and sizes of the glass in our PDF. So we can come down a little bit further and also see these stair sections here. And it's also created these in a DXF. So this is, we can send this directly and put this into machines for fabrication. As well as this, it's given us an installation report, so details of how this balustrade goes together, as well as the gaps and joins, how these meet, what needs to be overlapping, or whether this is a butt join or mitered or whatever it may be, as well as a list of the fittings we need to bring. And if I chose to, I could have also entered some installation comments when I was designing this balustrade, and these would appear here.